All right, what's old is new again. Think vinyl, mom jeans, fanny packs. Well, the same can be said of pinball, the old arcade standard, first introduced and electrified in the 1930s, peaked in the 1950s, but whose popularity plummeted after the invention of video games in the 1970s. The game, though, is getting more pub these days, and not just in pubs. Fewer than 20 years ago, there were only about 500 competitive pinball players fighting it out with flippers in about 50 competitions across the country. Today, those numbers are in the tens of thousands, and one of them will be representing Idaho in a battle to be the best on the continent. Arcades are in the business of selling nostalgia. It's where what you remember as a kid is revived.
Arcades were a big thing. I remember getting quarters and going to the arcade to play Street Fighter 2.
Or Joust, or Donkey Kong, or going berserk for Asteroids, where the joy of something generational is bridged to the next. And perhaps no game narrows that gap
No, we had Nintendo.
more than the classic pinball.
Not so much. It was more like my dad's thing.
It did for Lucas Silvers,
He'd still be on the same game, playing for free because you can get a replay.
where in order to get more money for video games, he'd have to play a game of pinball with his dad.
He'd kick my butt, he'd give me a few more quarters, and the cycle would kind of continue. And that was my arcade experience as a child, so it was pretty fun.
And now, the adrenaline rush of the silver ball
There's a lot of flashing lights and noises, and it just stimulates all my senses all at once.
is shared between another generation of Silvers.
I always just found it fun, you know.
That fun became competitive when Lucas signed Zyron up for his first tournament 5 years ago. He finished fourth.
Yeah, I was right there next to that top three.
So he was hooked from the get-go. So yeah.
Yeah, hooked instantly. I'm always been kind of competitive.
It's that competitive spirit that kept the teenager coming back to the arcade at least twice a week for 4 or 5 hours at a time to practice. Where repetition is really the only way to become a wizard.
Yeah, I know the machines pretty well.
And standing like a statue, not really an option for Zyron.
There's a lot of, energy I have in me that so yeah, I just kind of, without really thinking about it, I'm just moving all around.
About the only thing that seems still in here might be Zyron's mind. But inside his head, it's all about what's going on inside the game.
How does the ball come out of that feed? Do I need to nudge it a little bit as it's coming out to keep it more safe? I like how there's like infinite variation. Yeah, that's what's cool about it, is you kind of get to choose your path.
The path Zyron wanted to follow was the one to champion. And now you are.
Yeah.
Crowned last month at the Idaho State Tournament.
That last round, I went to 7 games. It's all the way, and that last game was a nail biter, and he did it, and it was pretty exciting. The exhilaration on his face, the accomplishment of, I finally did it. It was a proud papa moment for sure.
And next month, Zyron will take his talents to the next level,
We get to play against the best players in the world.
competing in the North American Pinball Championship. A pretty good path for what started out as just time together
Yeah, very much so.
for a father and son. Pinball champion.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but it's cool.
Yeah, pinball's my jam.
And that jam seems to be getting to the younger generation. 5 of the top 16 pinball players at Idaho's championships were under the age of 25. Zyron is going to compete in that one-day tournament next month in Wisconsin. His goal, he told us, is to beat at least one top-ranked player at that tournament. String a couple together, though, and he could take home a piece of that $40,000 in cash and prizes that's up for grabs. The 18-year-old is also hoping for some financial help to get there, though. He has a GoFundMe set up, and you can find a link in this story at ktvb.com.